Hey everyone, I'm Kronos, and this is an updated tutorial of Act 2 for the new route called the Goomba Stomp route that I used in my latest Honor Mode speedrun. This route is quite a bit faster than the Shard Temple route that I used in my other tutorial, and changes the run quite a bit from before. It might be a bit easier for some of you to do this route rather than the other one, so I highly recommend this as an alternative if you can't get the other route to work. And yeah, as always, if you're interested in seeing more, make sure to like and subscribe. Before we get started, I won't cover much of Acts 1 and 3, as they are pretty much the same with this route, except for a small few differences that I will cover in the video. So in Act 1, pretty much everything is the same as before. There's only a few small differences. For instance, we don't need to pick up the barrel or the water in the Act 1 tutorial. But here we also need to recruit Lae'zel. So this is from where we leave off by entering into the mountain pass. So right here, we're just reviving our Tav, who should have infinite status from this point if you did everything as described in my previous video. So from here, same thing as usual, Featherfall and Enhanced Sleep, and we're just going to make our way to Lae'zel, who is at this waypoint for the crush. So right here we just talk to Lae'zel, and we recruit her with option number 3. So we choose alright, and then we get Lae'zel in our party. From here everything's pretty much the same, just make sure you ungroup so Lae'zel doesn't follow you to all these enemies, and continue on forward. So once we enter Act 2, everything's pretty much the same. Right here we just skip all the dialogue, and then here we switch over to Shadowheart, transform her, and then we're just going to kidnap her like before. So once again, if you don't know how this works, just refer to my other tutorials. So from here, we're just jumping down with Shadowheart, and on the second jump, we want to switch over to magic missiles. This will be used for killing Shadowheart right here. So once we jump down to the bottom, we drop Shadowheart off, talk to Kansif, and hopefully not roll a 1 here. So once we do all that, just skip all the dialogue, and yeah. So here, Lae'zel's not going to be doing anything for a little bit here, and we're just going to do the same thing as we did in the other tutorial where we grabbed the moon lantern. So just command drop, pick it up, and switch over to our Tav. So with Shadowheart, we select Dialogue 4 to release the Pixie, and then get through the Shadow Curse with option 1. And now we should have the buff for the Pixie. So from here, we're going to kill Shadowheart. This is so we can pick her up now. So we're going to kill her. So we use magic missiles and a couple punches, and then loot her body and pick her up. So at this point, this is where we would normally have Lae'zel path over to Last Light Inn. So I'm going to show you how that looks like. So from here, we're just moving our camera from Lae'zel, who is standing here, a bit forwards and a bit to the right, and you should be able to see this area right here. So what I like to use are these rocks here. I guess they're kind of rocks, but it's weird tree-ish formations. But there's this corner right here, and there's this rock here. So I like to aim somewhere in the middle of this area. If you're having trouble seeing it, it's fine. It's a pretty lenient range. It's like this entire area basically you can click in, but I just like clicking at this spot here. And once you do click, Lae'zel should start pathing, so I'll show you what it looks like. So I'll click, and then Lae'zel should start moving. So we can switch back to her and see that she is going to start pathing to Moonrise. So from here, we're just going to switch back to our Tav, and we're going to make our way to the prison. So, same thing as before. It's pretty much the same route as the Shard Temple route, where we go all the way to get the Baldur's Gate waypoint, except instead of turning to the Shard Temple, we're just going to head to the Baldur's Gate area, because that takes us to the prison. So, once we get far enough, before we enter the prison, we want to make sure we don't have anything in our tab's inventory. So we take all of this stuff and give it to Lae'zel here, because we want to make sure that we don't lose all of these items, as they'll be very important for later on. So something that you'll also notice is a piece of dialogue is going to pop up when Lae'zel gets close enough to Last Light Inn. So it should be happening pretty soon, and you'll see it pop up in text form here.
This place is
so
protected.
You see this place is protected.
When
you see this line, switch over to Lae'zel, and this is when you're going to path into Last Light Inn. So from here, we're just pathing into Last Light Inn, and we're going to have this dialogue with Jaheira. So with this dialogue, we're just spamming 1 and right-click to skip all of it. It's going to basically go through recruiting Jaheira and everything, and all of that. And now we're just moving our camera into Last Light Inn, and scrolling in a bit so we can see this potion of invisibility. This is what we want to get for the run, so we're just going to click right at the potion here, and then once we're able to pick it up, we just click it, and then that's basically it. Lae'zel will path over, pick it up, and we're good to go. So from here, we just switch back over to our tab. You can see Lae'zel picked up 1 potion of invisibility, and we're good to keep going. So from here, we're just keep moving forwards. We get this waypoint here, and we're just going to head to the prison by jumping at this area, right-click, and continue forwards. And this teleports us to the prison.
This is where we'll discover the secret of the absolute.
So from here, we jump down to the hole to break out of the prison, and we're just going to do the obelisk skip that we did before. So if you don't know how this works, refer to my last tutorial. Once again, go to crouch mode, scroll your camera all the way up in tactical view, and jump right as this brain is pathing to you to get that jump properly. So once we do that, we're just continuing on a bit further here, and we're going to jump forwards. And instead of heading to Ketheric immediately, we're going to need an extra level up. So this is done by going to the left instead here, to this door, where there's this neural apparatus here. So this neural apparatus is going to let us activate all of these pods, and what we want to do is right-click to skip all the dialogue, and click number 2 to purge the pods. This will give us a bunch of XP, and basically level us up to level 3. From here, we're just going to jump our way back to Ketheric, and we're going to start to do some menuing. So from here, we open the door, head down to the bottom here, and we're going to set up all of this stuff here. So we're giving Shadowheart to Tav, along with a Revivify scroll, and we're going to give a potion of invisibility to Shadowheart. So from here, we're going to set up infinite status glitch. So that is done once again. We drop Shadowheart on the floor, and we're going to turn on turn-based mode, pick up Shadowheart, leave turn-based mode, drop Shadowheart again, and then revive her. So once we do that, Shadowheart should have infinite status. We'll get this line of dialogue from Shadowheart. Right-click to skip that. And we're going to activate this neural apparatus to start heading down. While it's heading down, we're going to start leveling up. And for Shadowheart, this is the most important level up. We're going to do Druid. So this will let us shape change into a bear with the second level up, which will be this one. So for our subclass, we need to make sure we have Circle of the Moon. None of the other spells and stuff matter, just make sure you are a druid with Circle of the Moon, because you get Wild Shape of Beer. So from here, we get Tav's level, and these spells don't matter for this first level up, but the second level up is where it matters, since we need Misty Step and Enlarge/Reduce. And this is going to let us make Shadowheart transform to be bigger to deal more damage and have more weight so we can defeat Ketheric. And then Misty Step to be able to release the Night Song. And once again, we need to prepare these spells, so we take out these two on the right and replace them with these two. From here, Lae'zel's level doesn't matter at this point, at least for this route, so we're just going to ignore it by pressing escape, and we're just going to head to the door. So you can do all the jumping and pathing stuff a lot more optimally, which you could see in my run. So depending on what you do and what you're used to, you'll see people do levels at different places and item swaps and everything as well. Just try to find what works for you. And yeah, from here, we're just going to enter into the Ketheric Fight. So once again, enter the door, and we're going to skip all of this dialogue. So this section is pretty difficult to go through, but it will make a lot more sense after doing it a couple times. So once again, we're going to be into this Ketheric Fight, and we want to be able to defeat Ketheric by bringing him down to this floor area here and releasing the Night Song. So we need to be able to get to this area with our Tav so we can Misty Step over to the Night Song, and everything is going to go by pretty quickly. So once again, we're going to need to buff up Shadowheart first here, so let's switch over to her. And we're going to shape change into a bear. So from here, we switch over to our Tav, and we're going to cast all our buffs on Shadowheart that she needs. So that includes Featherfall, Enhanced Sleep, Enlarge. So it's this left one. And that's all that Shadowheart needs right now, except for the invisibility, which we will do right after. But first, we want to have our Tav jump over to this side, so we cast Enhanced Sleep on ourselves. We go into sneak mode, and just make sure that this red, which is Ketheric's vision, is not where you jump to. And normally Ketheric's pathing is going over this way, so he'll be able to see some of these areas, so try to jump over far to the right while sneaking. So that way Ketheric doesn't see you. From here, we switch over to Shadowheart and drink the invisibility potion, so you become invisible. And from here, you're able to do whatever you want with Shadowheart as long as you don't attack anything. So what I like to do is jump to the top here to set up for Ketheric, right next to the Mind Flare. And once again, because we have infinite status, none of these effects will tick down in time, so you have a lot of time to set up all of this as long as you don't mess up here. From here, this is probably the scariest and most dangerous part of the run that you can lose your run to. So right here, you're going to cast Minor Illusion to bring Ketheric down to the bottom here. So when we do that, Ketheric is going to start walking down this way and could potentially see you in this area. So once you do it, you have to make sure to be ready to start casting Misty Step to go over to the Night Song. And there is some RNG based off your initiative rolls. So if you get unlucky with your initiative, you might not be able to complete the run. So that is why this is kind of risky, but most of the time you should be fine. So how it should look like is this. We're going to cast Minor Illusion, and then we're going to wait for Ketheric to make sure he comes down to the bottom here before we Misty Step over to the Night Song. So it's going to look something like this. Ketheric's going to make his way down, and then we're going to cast Misty Step at the Night Song. So once again, we can see Ketheric still standing there. We free the Night Song before Ketheric starts moving up, and we are good to go. So notice that because our Tav just released the Night Song, Ketheric is vulnerable now, but notice that Shadowheart's not in the fight because she is invisible. So when we switch over to her, we're able to move around and do whatever we want, and we won't affect combat in this area. So from here, we're just going to jump basically on top of Ketheric, and once again, you could do this in glitchless as well. So once again, this part, we can just keep jumping onto Ketheric, and he'll take around 50 to 60 damage with each hit. So once you land there, just jump back up, and repeat until Ketheric dies. So I say you can do this in glitchless because the only thing that's limiting you is the amount of time you have for these. So if you do it quick enough, you should be able to defeat Ketheric Phase 1 without glitches. However, for Phase 2 for Merkel, we are going to do somewhat of a buggy jump for defeating it. So we'll have to do an alternative if we want to do a glitchless route. So once Ketheric is defeated, we'll get the cutscene here. Just right click to skip it all, and we'll have Merkel spawn in. And same thing as before, Shadowheart's not in the fight, so we're able to just move around and do whatever. But from here, I jump up to where these Necromites are. So I jump into this area, which is slightly more raised, and then we're going to toggle the camera. So we're onto the tactical camera here, and we're just going to cast jump with the scroll wheel jump onto this opposite side of Merkel here. So as long as you're entering around the center of Merkel here with the spam jump, you should land straight in the middle. And once again, this is done with the scroll wheel jump, so holding shift and then mashing Z and scroll wheel. We land on top of Merkel, and you should do 2 strikes of around 50 to 60 damage. Then we just have to walk out because we can't directly jump back. We jump back onto the spot we were before, and then just repeat until Merkel dies. So once again, land on Merkel, tap out, jump back, and do it again. Should take about 4 times. And then for the last time, once we land, Merkel is defeated. So that's pretty much the biggest parts to cover in Act 2 here, but just to wrap things up, because there are some slight deviations from this point, because we're still, we have Dame Aelin now, things are going to be slightly different, and we have Shadowheart as a bear. So we're going to loot Ketheric's corpse, and when we do that, notice that we skip the dialogue because Dame Aelin can't just talk to us while we're in bear form. We take all the items from Ketheric, and then we make sure to press G to group our Tav, so our Tav follows us out to the portal. We jump to the portal and exit out, and we should enter back to Moonrise Towers. Because we saved Dame Aelin and everything, we are safe to travel out of here, so that's some small boost compared to the previous route with Shard Route, where you have to exit out of Moonrise Towers manually. And yeah, from here, we're going to cast Featherfall and Enhance Sleep on our Tav, and we're going to jump to the door, which should trigger a cutscene with Dame Aelin and Isabel. So here, we don't want these two to come to our party because they add a lot of required dialogue that we need to go through. So what we do is we mash out of this dialogue. We say it's a little crowded for the camp, and then we say, you go your way, I'll go mine. So we just leave them behind. From here, same thing as before, we jump to Wallbryn, grab the gold, and that's just done by pressing 3 twice. We get the gold, and instead of jumping all the way out of Moonrise Towers, we're just going to jump, fast travel to Road to Baldur's Gate, and then it just triggers this cutscene from here, and then we'll just do it once more again. From here, we're all good to go, so we can just jump to Act 3 with the gift fight intermission, and everything's pretty much the same in Act 3 as before. There are a couple small differences that are very important to note though, so I will cover that really quick once we get through all of this cutscene here. Basically, because you have Lae'zel in your party, you're going to need to do a lot of other stuff with her by having her jump off the edge in order to make sure she doesn't get in the way of some cutscenes and stuff in some areas. So for instance, once we enter into Act 3 here, we switch over to Lae'zel and have her jump off this way. And in other scenarios as well that you can see in my honor mode run. Also, a small thing as well to take note of is when we do this strat, we don't have extra level 2 spell slots here. So when you're doing the fireworks shopping, it's going to be a lot more difficult to do without your spell slots. So you have to be careful of what you use them for, and you might need to do some other improvisations with it. For instance, getting Fog Cloud back or something by just switching out so you can use your level 1 spell slots as well. And yeah, everything from here on out is pretty much the same as my Act 3 tutorial. So if you haven't seen that yet, make sure to check that out. And that's pretty much it. That covers all of the new bear route, I guess, the Goomba Stomp route. So that's it for this video. Hopefully you all enjoyed it, and if you have any questions, comments, and stuff, feel free to leave one down in the description, in the comments section below. So yep, that's pretty much it for me. Thanks for watching, and yeah.